alternate interior angles theorem, which says that if two lines are parallel, then the alternate interior angles that are created are congruent. So here I have this picture, and it gives me these two lines. L is parallel to M. It gives me that fact. Then this pair of alternate interior angles, angle 3 and angle 6, are congruent. So now, given this, I'm going to write down L is parallel to M. The two lines are parallel, it's given. And let's just prove this real quick to ourselves before we even have an idea. So, okay, these two lines are parallel. There's a postulate. The postulate says that if the two lines are parallel, then corresponding angles are congruent. So let's use that postulate real quick. Let's write it down. Postulate. It's corresponding angles postulate. Okay, it says if L is parallel to M, then corresponding angles are congruent. So 1 and 5, top left, right? In these four angles, top left angle is 1, so then it corresponds with 5 because 5 is in the top left of these four angles. Top right corresponds with top right, bottom right corresponds with bottom right, bottom left corresponds with bottom left here. So I have, then let's just say corresponding angles are congruent. And we also have the theorem, which is that vertical angles theorem that we proved in the last vertical angles theorem, and we use these two to prove this theorem here. If the angles are vertical, then they are congruent. If angles are vertical, then they are congruent. Okay, so now let's see, how are we going to use this here? So I want to show that this pair of vertical angles are congruent. 6 and 3. I want to show that they are congruent. How do I do that? Okay, there's a few ways you could go. 2 is congruent to 6. Why is 2 congruent to 6? Well, corresponding angles postulate. These two lines are parallel, therefore corresponding angles are congruent. So 2 corresponds with 6, therefore they are congruent because of corresponding angles postulate. Then you could say that 3 is congruent to 2. Why is it that 3 is congruent to 2? 3 is congruent to 2 because they're vertical angles. And if angles are vertical, then they're congruent. So you can kind of play this game, right? 6 is congruent to 2. 2 is congruent to 3. Therefore, by transitivity, 6 is congruent to 3. So whatever order you want to go in, I'm going to write it. Angle 6 is congruent to angle 2. And that's corresponding angles postulate, what we just went through. Corresponding angles postulate. And then you have, so 6 is congruent to 2. Then you have 2 is congruent to 3. Now why is 2 congruent to 3? Because they are vertical angles. And we know from the vertical angles theorem that if angles are vertical, then they are congruent. And of course, 2 is vertical with 3. So we have vertical angles theorem. Now we are gonna we're gonna go from 6 to 2, then from 2 to 3, right? 6 is the same as 2, 2 is the same as 3, therefore 6 is the same as 3. And that's called transitivity. And you're done. Okay.